This is our video for Chapter 6, Lesson 3. This is solving equations with rational coefficients. So this chapter begins with a little bit of a vocabulary review. These are old words, but you still need to know them. A rational number, we've gone over this in Chapter 0, Chapter 4, and now for the third time this year. A rational number is any number that can be written in fraction form. So that includes whole numbers, terminating decimals, repeating decimals, fractions, integers, and percents. So we're dealing with rational numbers today. We're not just dealing with whole numbers like we did in yesterday's homework. Remember a coefficient, that's our other vocab word. The coefficient is the number part of a variable term. So here is an example of an expression, 17m minus 4k plus b minus 17. The coefficients are the numbers that sit in front of the variables. Now, I know we don't see the 1 in front of the b here, but it's there, remember, because of the multiplicative identity property. The only number up there that is not a coefficient is the negative 17 because it doesn't have a variable at the end. A coefficient has to work with a variable. Remember, co means to work together with something. If you remember from Chapter 5, this negative 17 is something called a constant because it doesn't have any variables. Let's take a look at a practice problem. Your first problem, this is number 1 in your notes. It is 6 4/10 equals 8/10 m. You can see that I already started by putting my train tracks there. And we go through our battery of questions. The first question says, which side is the variable on? The variable's on the right. What's with the variable? That's my 8/10. And what operation is happening? Well, that is a multiplication problem. So the inverse of multiplication is division. In order to get rid of this 8/10, we have to divide by 8/10. And then we have to balance that out by dividing the other side by 8/10. So 8/10 divided by itself is 1, which leaves us with 1m left, which is what we want. Bring your equal sign down the train tracks. Now we have to do 6 4/10 divided by 8/10. So if you don't know this math, you just have to create a little bit of margin math, and you can put this problem off in the margin. The 6 4/10 goes inside the house, 8/10 on the outside of the house. Remember, we do not want to have any decimals outside the house, so we move that decimal one place to the right. We balance that out by moving the decimal one place to the right on the inside of the house as well. And our new problem is 64 divided by 8. A much easier problem for us to solve. 64 divided by 8, of course, is 8. So that tells us that m equals 8. There is our solution. Now, you notice I took this math and I did it, but I showed it away from my problem. That's what you have to be doing for me. I want to see your solution all here in your train tracks. Any side work that you have to do, just push it off into the margin of your paper. Our checks are still important in this chapter, or this part of the chapter. You begin by writing the original problem over again. 6 4/10 equals 8/10 times m. We substitute our 8 in for the variable, and we simplify both sides of the expression. So 6 4/10 is already simplified. So that gets us 6 4/10. 8 times 8/10, if you don't know that mentally, you can do a little more margin math over here. But I happen to know that 8 times 8 is 64. And then I have to account for one decimal place value, so move my decimal one place to the left, and they match up. So this is how to deal with a decimal rational coefficient, number 1. Let's take a look at number 2. We are almost finished here. Number 2, now we have a fraction rational coefficient. So let's go through our same set of questions. Which side is the variable on? This time it's on the left. What's with the variable? A negative 3/4. And what operation is happening? Well, this is a number next to a variable, so I know that's multiplication. To undo multiplication, I have to divide. I'm going to create a big division bar there. I'm going to divide by the exact coefficient here. So I'm going to divide by negative 3/4. I have to balance this out on the other side. I'm going to divide 9 by negative 3/4 as well. Now just wait, you're going to see why this is really, really nice. This links up to chapter 0 and chapter 4 stuff that we've done. Negative 3/4 divided by itself is positive 1. So all we're left with is a positive 1x. Bring your equal sign down the train tracks. And now this looks like a big old complex fraction to me. Put the 9 over 1. We'll do outers first. 9 times 4 is 36. 1 times 3 is 3, and don't forget that this is a positive divided by a negative, so my final answer is going to be negative. All we have to do is simplify this fraction. 36 divided by 3 is 12, and don't forget, it is still negative. So my final answer here is x equals negative 12. I'm going to let you do this check by yourself tonight, because I think that the check looks like everything else we've been doing the past couple days. Just remember, write the equation first and then use substitution. That's it. Short video today. Your assignment for tonight is to finish the check for number 2, and then I want you to do 3, 4, 5, and 6. Number 6 is a write your own problem, so make sure that you get a problem in there. We're going to take a look at one of those tomorrow. And don't forget to do your Google form. If you have any questions, leave them in the Google form and we'll talk about them tomorrow.